With the age of technology we live in today, no business can do without ITSM, a discipline that is used to manage small, medium, and large-scale IT systems in a business or organization. You would definitely be surprised at the massive impact a fully integrated ITSM system can have on your business. In fact, in a market report named Global ITSM Market 2020 to 2024 generated by Technavio, it is stated that the IT service management market size is expected to grow by $3.29 billion during 2020 to 2024. The report also states that the advent of technologies such as machine learning, blockchain, big data, artificial intelligence, IoT, and virtual reality will increase the adoption of advanced ITSM solutions by enterprises. Sounds interesting, right? I am Eric from Invensis Learning. I welcome you all to this session on managing service operations and why ITSM matters. Before we get started, a brief introduction about us. Invensis Learning is a leading training and certification organization providing globally recognized certification courses, such as ITIL, PMP, Prince2, Change Management, Business Analysis, Lean Six Sigma, DevOps, COBOT 5 and more. Over 50,000 plus professionals worldwide have been trained and certified by Invensis Learning for some of the leading Fortune 1000 companies globally. We also post blogs, videos, and host webinars on some fascinating topics across various industry verticals. So, follow us on YouTube and other social media platforms to stay regularly updated on our upcoming content. So, coming back to this webinar, it was presented by Allison Pippin. She is a solutions-oriented technical trainer and a certified Agile expert with over 18 years of experience in the IT service management industry. She is proficient in application and network management, information systems, business process, business management, information technology, and technical training. Also, Allison is certified in ISO 20000 auditing organizations for quality. Without any further ado, let us get started.
For the webinar, we're going to introduce ITSM to you, starting with one of the stages of the ITIL library, which is called Service Operations, and then we're going to go into what that particular stage does in supporting IT service management. Then we'll go into IT service management as a whole, and we will take some questions at the end of the webinar as well. All right, let's get started with revisiting some of the foundation information you may have learned in your ITIL Foundation course. The basic 5 stages of the Information Technology Infrastructure Library Service Lifecycle Framework includes having a strategy around what services your business plans to offer, supported by your underpinning IT organization. Then designing IT services, which includes what your architects and engineers do. Then transitioning services from a pre-deployment, pre-development mode, pre-production mode into the production environment by release and deployment, change management, knowledge management, and so on, the additional processes. Service operation is a very critical stage because that's where we say the value of IT services is seen by users and customers. That's what we consider the factory of IT. And that's where we measure where users are maybe unhappy with our service or they're extremely happy with our service. And surrounding all of the other 4 stages is continual service improvement. That's where we conduct quality assurance and quality control. So that's just a little background around the ITIL service lifecycle and where we are today with the framework. We are in the 2011 version, just to catch you up to speed. So concentrating on one stage particularly where you see the red lines is service operation, or service operations, which I call service operations. It consists of 5 processes: event management, incident management, request fulfillment, access management, and problem management. The 4 functional areas include the service desk, IT operations management, application management, and technical management. All of those areas are needed to support delivering IT services and operating IT services. It's a collaborative effort between standardized, repeatable processes and functional teams and people, which are called functions. Processes are in blue, the functional teams are in orange. This particular stage of the ITIL life cycle is a very important stage because that's where we carry out day to day tasks and activities. Those day to day activities are used to deliver services at agreed service levels. What are agreed service levels? Service level requirements that are documented in service level agreements. You may remember this again from your ITIL Foundation class. This is also the stage that is responsible for ongoing management of technology used to deliver services, support services, maintain stability of services, and also improve services to the CSI team. And again, we talked about the four functional areas and the five processes under this particular stage. So there are stages, and underneath the stages, there are processes and functions. Service management as a practice means that you are using a capability around managing IT services to keep your services at a quality functional level that you have agreed to in service level agreements. The service lifecycle is an approach that takes all five stages together: strategy, design, transition, ops, and CSI in support of delivering quality IT services. All of those stages together is known as the service management lifecycle. How you operate the lifecycle is called ITSM, or managing services. In order to manage IT services, you have to understand what your business goals are, which are called business requirements. Business requirements are identified in the service strategy stage. It is beneficial for every CIO to communicate to all of its IT staff what is the business mission, business goals, business objectives, sustainability for the company as a whole, and then identify your IT strategy. So we always start with a business strategy. We communicate that down to an IT strategy, and then we design, transition, operate, and improve. Again, the five operational processes include managing events, that's event correlation, by using tools in the infrastructure, in the enterprise, to notify desktops, laptops, email, and mobile phones of activity within your infrastructure. Managing incidents. I think everybody is familiar with managing incidents. These are tickets that you take at the service desk. Those tickets can be emails, they can be phone calls, they can be text messages, they can be IMs. Incident management is at the core of operations because this tells you how your users are operating around the services that you're providing. If they're unhappy with those services, they will log an incident ticket. Managing problems are not incidents. Problems is where you get to the root core, to the root reason why that incident took place. This is where we conduct root cause analysis. Managing requests. This is where we identify standardize low level tickets by folks calling in around an issue around maybe their desktop or maybe their laptop. Maybe it's a password reset, but it's not a problem or an incident. Access management is more about granting access to IT services from users, to users around using IT services. And a lot of organizations refer to access management as identity management. So, processes have a beginning and an end. Processes have inputs and outputs. Processes exist to accomplish a specific objective. Under the service operation stage, there are five processes: repeatable, standardized, measurable processes that every organization should try to stand up if you're going to follow ITIL best practices to manage your infrastructure environments. Service operation functions are functional areas of teams. Teams are groups of people. There are four major teams in the ITIL best practice framework that carry out the five processes. Those teams include the service desk. We used to call the service desk the help desk. The service desk is able to take incident tickets and service requests. The technical management team is the team that exists. May I help you? Someone has a question? If not, can you please put your phone on mute? Technical management is the team that manages designers, architects, and engineers. They maintain the mainframe, servers, network, storage, database, directory services, desktop, middleware, the internet. IT operations is the team that sits in the network operations center, and they manage day to day activities, and they handle backups and restore, and
ITIL
they also manage facilities. Can everyone please put their phone on mute? I hear a lot of background noise. I would appreciate that. Thank you very much. Application management. Do you have a question, please? Okay, thank you. Application management is the functional operations team that handles any tickets around software, business applications, and any in-house applications that have been raised. They can also be handled by application service providers as well. We are moving on to the next slide, which is what happens in IT operations, the function itself. This is where we concentrate on maintaining stability of the organization's services. This is where we will route and escalate tickets to the folks that sit in the network area, that sit in the NOC, or the Network Operations Center, or the data center, and they take tickets as well, but they're handling more real-time issues and incidents that come through the service desk versus technical management. Those are the folks that manage long-term engineering efforts. Now, I know this is just a suggestion. A lot of organizations will not reorg just to support delivery of IT services. This is a suggestion out of the ITIL library that you actually should understand what services you offer, how many services you offer, what those services do, who your customers are, and you should figure out what teams and process areas and functional areas support those services. That way we can maintain business satisfaction and confidence to our customers and users that rely on those services. We know how to manage those services to reduce outages and failures, and we know how to operate those services if the business is impacted by any of those services on a day-to-day basis. So we want to understand what we offer, who supports those services, why we offer those services, and how those services provide value. We know that services are intangible, they're hard to measure, but it's really important to understand which services are critical and mission critical and vital to the business so that we can maintain stability. Remember, operations is where users and customers come in contact with our services. That's why we say operations is the area where actual value is seen. How do we deliver and manage IT services? Well, first of all, we need to understand, well, what is a service? Going back to our ITIL Foundation course, services are a means of delivering value to customers by helping customers facilitate outcomes. Customers don't own services, they use services. Service providers own services. Our job as a provider is to facilitate outcomes by enhancing performances and reducing constraints and risk, mitigating issues. We own the services, we minimize the risk, but we deliver a service that enhances the performance of some type of outcome a user or a customer is trying to fulfill. So our job is to enable. We are an enabler. Some of our services include email, hosting, backup, print services, storage services, hosting services, cloud services. And again, all services are intangibles. The technology that sits under services include the physical environment, the tangible part of IT, but services themselves are intangible, and that's why they're so hard to manage. How we manage the performance of a service is all wrapped around service level agreements, SLAs. You cannot manage a service unless you know what the expectations are, the uptime, the maintenance time, and what will happen to our customers if a service goes down. Will there be any penalties involved because you inconvenienced your users? Our job in managing services effectively and efficiently is to make sure that reduce service costs, improve stability, improve overall performance, and continue to optimize that service so that the business can sustain its vision, mission, and objectives in the future. Now, with understanding that operating services is just a part of delivering quality services, the whole big picture and the holistic view of everything we do around IT is referred to as ITSM, or Information Technology Service Management. I know you've seen this acronym before. It does not represent supplier management or substituting the S for anything else except for service management. It's been around for over 20 years. Remember, ITIL came out in the 80s. It's not new, it's not a trend, it's not a fad. Service management is where the business interfaces with the technical teams and everybody understands, hearing the message from the CIO at the same time, what our business does, what our services deliver, how the IT department supports those services, and what the business needs to do to sustain its operations in the future, ongoing, by making sure that we collaborate with people, steps and processes, products and tools, partners, vendors, third parties, suppliers, and providers. Everybody needs to hear that message at the same time from our CIO by having some type of all hands meeting or, regular brown bag meetings. That the business as a whole is taking on the approach of ITSM by integrating with our underpinning IT teams. It's not just about technology and it's not just about ROI and making money. It's everything that we do in the entire IT organization to make sure that IT systems underpin business services. So you need to understand, what are your business services that make you money and what are your IT services. Those are two different things. But ITSM brings those two areas together. So SM, or service management, includes everything that an IT organization does to keep services up and running. That means documenting, sharing knowledge, standing up technology, communicating, knowledge management, interfacing with our vendors, contracts. That means service level agreements. So ITSM is an organizational-wide approach to delivering services and supporting services, an organizational-wide approach. That means anything that IT does, we're going to bring the business executives involved in line with our goals and objectives. Anything that the business does that involves IT, they're going to invite IT to those meetings. And all C-level executives and IT representatives are going to come to the same page in sharing outcomes, objectives, and expectations. They're going to agree, they're going to sign on the dotted line, and we do not do any of our work in silos. So it is a holistic approach. And I do agree with bringing in our business partners, our IT providers and suppliers as well, so they understand we are using a best practice approach to managing IT. So why do we need ITSM? What does it do for us? Well, it makes sure that the IT folks understand what the business is doing and the business side of the house understands what the IT department is doing. So it's an inclusive view of managing the entire enterprise and the infrastructure. We're not going to work in siloed teams in a mushroom without understanding what the executives do, without understanding what our incident representatives do at the incident management desk. It is an organizational-wide approach. So ITSM is in need because there's an increased dependency on delivering IT services. Delivering IT services needs a collaborative approach. We need business executives on board, we need external suppliers to do their job, and we need an internal technical view, and all combined is what is made up of an IT service management approach. If there is any failure at all in IT, that means that customers know about it, users know about it, and service failures are very visible, and the business may take a hit. So it's very inclusive to understand that everybody has a role, everybody has a responsibility in making sure that IT services are always up and running and available when needed. And we can't place blame on others. It's all of our fault if an IT service experiences a failure. Most organizations are increasing the complexity of the infrastructure, so everyone has to be involved at the same time and hear the messages, have access to the documents, share information better, communicate better, because expectations are higher. Expectations are higher of us as individuals, as analysts, as IT staff. Customers have higher expectations. The market itself is changing. The IT industry is changing. So we all need to understand our approach to managing services by documenting what our IT service management approach is going to be. And changes take place all the time. We have to know how to manage change. And this is not new. This has been around for a while. Businesses are starting to charge for IT services. So in the past, when you use email, email used to be free. Email is, being charged for now. Google charges for email. When you used to fly in an airplane, we used to get pillows and blankets and food for free. Now, all of those services, we are charging for food. We are charging for a better seat. What we thought was free in the past is now becoming an expense. So we need to know how to manage that better and how we can expand our profits and make sure that we are charging for our services appropriately. Some of the goals of ITSM include improving the quality of the services we are providing. And that goes in line with sometimes understanding that services are not free. IT is not free. IT has a lot of expenses, and sometimes we have to roll those expenses over onto our customers. We need a good professional approach to managing IT. We need to make sure our customers are always satisfied because our company is being compared to other companies. We need to make sure the morale with our staff, they're always motivated and they are enthusiastic about their jobs. If you have a service environment where you're always impacted by failures and outages, then the morale of your staff goes down. So we need to talk about how ITSM can help us with managing a motivated staff. And again, talking about money and cost and maintaining profit and managing our businesses so we have sustainability. We do nothing in ITSM without understanding that everything has a dollar sign attached to it. We need to manage what our budgets are. We need to account for our IT cost. We need to have an IT budget. Aligning IT services to understanding what the business goals are is very important. The business and the IT department need to be in the same car, same road, same lane, not having conflict. So we need to have clear idea of what our capabilities are, what our strengths and weaknesses, our opportunities, our threats are, our external threats, our internal vulnerabilities. We always need to know what our customer needs are. We need to document our business plans, and then we need to supplement business plans with IT strategic plans. So we have business plans and we have IT service plans. So in this diagram, we're showing you a bank ATM screen. And on that screen, you touch buttons. I don't know if everyone understands, but those buttons are services. We see those buttons as customers, but internally, those are business services. Behind business services are IT services. We need to make the experience for the business users better by ramping up our IT services. So IT services underpin business services, and every single button you touch on an ATM screen is considered a business service that is supported by infrastructure technology. So, the practice of understanding service management is that we have an organizational wide view. It's not an internal technical view. We are getting out of our bubbles, out of our mushrooms, out of our silos. We are lining up with the goals of the business, and we are linking our individual jobs with what the business wants to succeed in as a whole. So, interlocking IT service management disciplines will allow the needs of the customer to be matched by the capability of the IT services being offered. IT services support business goals and objectives. So we're going to follow best practices and use the ITIL approach to understanding the entire environment by bringing together business executives and IT technical staff so that we can manage the performance of IT services better and offer more quality IT services that never go down. And remember, IT services need to be up and running 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. That's tough to do. It's not always, we have a maintenance window that we can work in and services can go down while we work on them, and then users will wait until that service comes back up. That's not the case. We need to operate and maintain services in the background, but users never want to log out. That's tough to do. So the name of the game is availability and providing quality services. How do we provide quality services? We have an ITSM approach. We document a strategy, how we're going to design our services, we transition them, we operate them, and we improve them. So it's an organizational wide perspective. We don't do anything in IT that the business wouldn't support, and the business will communicate with the IT organization if they're going down the right lane in their strategic approach. The importance of ITSM is that organizations want to make money. And if they don't want to make money, if they're not for profit, they want to please their constituents, their customers, their users. How do we do that? We are able to show that IT services have value attached to them by measuring what our services do. Once we can show and prove and justify and quantify the value of IT, we can sustain our business, we can grow our customers, we can expand our business into other markets. So by strategizing, designing, transitioning, operating, and improving, we can do the following: expand what we do as a company, adapt to market changes and industry changes, increase our revenues and profits, reduce our penalties when there are any service outages, service more customers, expand our base, expand the users we are supporting, prevent loss, be more proactive, have more preventative measures in place, and create loyalty, confidence, and trust. So we do that by understanding what we're good at, our strengths, our weaknesses, our opportunities, our threats, our resources, what our capabilities are, creating IT services, creating value in IT services, measuring the uptime our services offer, delivering services to users and customers, and that's how we fulfill business outcomes. So it's a whole enterprise, organizational wide effort, and it takes everyone involved to make sure that our business is successful at the end of the day. The interfaces between the different functional teams and the processes are very important because we have to understand what other process areas support and what other functional areas do so we can operate as a fine-tuned machine. We can operate as an orchestra, a symphony, where everybody has a role, and we are taking a holistic approach to supporting IT service initiatives and IT service projects. Just like a football team has many parts involved to win a game. It takes the coaches, the staff, it takes the players. It's a whole group effort, and every member has a part to play. And that's what ITSM is about, a holistic approach. ITSM projects are supported by IT operations functions and design engineers and CSI staff and change management staff and problem managers and development team, DevOps. Everybody is part of this machine. Managing changes, managing configuration updates, release and deployment. We all have to understand how we all contribute, how one activity affects another, how one team affects the business, and making sure that our service level agreements are adhered to. So at the end of the day, service level agreements are how we promote the value of IT services. We measure what we do. We capture when services are up. We capture when services are down. We create reports. Those reports are communicated up to business executives. Business executives interface with paying customers, and we promote our successful performance activities on our websites, and that's how we gain new business. Sometimes we do get business from folks just kind of, randomly surfing and discovering our business and what we do by looking at our business metrics. Those business metrics need to be positive at all time, especially if your environment operates 24/7 and some of your IT metrics include 99.999% availability. You have to meet 5 nines. You have to do better than your competitors because we're always being measured. So because we're always being measured, that includes interfacing with all our other teammates, all our other functional groups, and all of our other process areas. Managing services via ITSM means that we understand what our individual jobs and roles contribute to the business as a whole, and how our outsourcers, our partners, third-party vendors, and external suppliers interface with us. Our external parties need to understand what ITSM is as well. You have cloud service providers, application service providers, you have internet service providers. And you don't want to place blame when one of our providers brings something down and you say that's out of our hands, because the customers only are interfacing with you. They don't even know about your underpinning providers. So we want to understand what everyone does, how everyone contributes to the environment, how we can reduce service outages by communicating well across external parties. So with ITSM at the forefront, we know that it's a collaborative effort, that managing incidents, root cause analysis and problem management, continuity management, external vendor, supplier management, managing and governance around policies, procedures, work instructions, standard operating procedures and processes all need to be documented, and they all need to be shared, even amongst our partners, even amongst our contractors, our vendors, our consultants, so that we understand who does what and how we can all contribute to making our services more reliable and more available. The value that ITSM provides is that we want to make sure that we can measure our work. So providing services, again, is very tough, very complex, and services are intangible. But at the end of the day, you cannot measure what you don't know how to manage. So we need to be able to document what we're doing, how fast, when we have outages, when customers maybe are complaining, how many tickets we're logging, how much money we're charging. All of that is under service management. And everything that we do is valued by the business, and every stakeholder is a contributor. So technology is managed by many different parts and pieces. Improvements need to be documented. Perception is important, because if we have a service that's constantly up and down, up and down, up and down, and the perception is that service is poor, well, that customer doesn't want to do business with us anymore. And that means that we're going to lose business. So all of that comes into play under ITSM. Exceptions, expectations, perception, reputation, surveys, how we interact with vendors. Again, a holistic business-wide organizational approach, and documenting our successes and promoting our successes as well. So support teams of the infrastructure will need to align around IT, and you need to promote and document and quantify everything that you've done to keep that service up and available and reliable for customers to use according to their SLAs. So measuring service is extremely important, because you cannot manage what you don't measure. You cannot measure what you don't manage. So it's about control. It's about managing risk. It's about being proactive and measuring what your services are doing to support business applications, and how your services are helping to keep the company successful. All services need to be measured every single day, all day long as they're up and running within your service level agreements. And that's actually how we consider controlling risk, managing internal vulnerabilities, and managing external threats. It's really important that you use different types of controls to manage your environment. Automation is very important, but we also have some manual controls as well. Continuous monitoring tools, event management tools, event correlation, understanding what services are critical, what services are major, what services are significant, what services are minor, communicating what those services are to our partners, understanding when our number one customer calls, how we service them, what our hours of service are during the day. Are we 24 by 7, 23 by 7, 9 to 5, 9 to 6? What that looks like. Do we have any automatic self-healing utilities that are operational so that we can see what's going on 24 by 7? And if we need manual activities to come into play, we can use our event correlation tools to give us a heads up and bring in our human beings to support the environment as well. All activities are measured, whether they are automatic or manual. Maintenance of IT services is very important because we don't want to be a reactive environment. We do want to be proactive. It is very important to try to see an event happening in your environment before a user calls. That represents the quality of IT. So that needs to be communicated to external vendors as well. Testing IT systems is extremely important. This happens before you go live. This happens pre-production. And we do this in the design and transition stage of the ITIL lifecycle. Diagnostic tools are very important. Identifying known errors, common workarounds, that needs to be communicated to the operations team and the incident management team at the service desk. Documenting lessons learned via knowledge management systems. If you're using something like SharePoint, that's very important, document management systems. So we can see past performance. We can see historical information. We can communicate amongst different shifts within the teams. We can identify whether a tool should be continually used or maybe we should stop using a specific tool. Improvement activities need to be documented as well. Setting triggers, thresholds. This is all a part of ITSM and management of IT services. Remember, ITSM is everything that you do, everything that you manage, everything that you document, your communication, your automation, event correlation. It's everything that you do and understanding how you carry out those activities. Okay, we have an interface between service management and interfacing with external vendors, suppliers, and providers as well. In a lot of publications, you will see that providers are more in-house, suppliers are more external, but no company manages IT without best practices being considered. And best practices is where we rely on the ITIL library. And within the ITIL library is where we get our ITSM approach. We see companies like Procter & Gamble, Disney, Microsoft, DHL, and many others rely on ITSM to improve their IT organizations. Services are now expanding into infrastructure as a service, desktop as a service, software as a service. Many systems that have been internal to organizations are now being operated in the cloud. And as environments become more complex, it will be more clear to understanding what ITSM can do for us to manage services that are internal to our organizations and services that are being managed by external companies as well. It is a coordinated effort amongst internal staff and external providers as well. So we need to have a good strategy. We need to have a good IT strategic plan. We need to be flexible to changes. We need to have coordinated efforts in play. So ITSM is where we overlap with our service providers. We explain to them what our strategic plans are, and we have them sign up within service level agreements and vendor contracts that they do understand what our ITSM practices are. So everybody is on the same page. We have a business perspective in play. We have governing policies overarching our work. We have service level agreements that we have to adhere to. And we have ITSM strategic plans that we communicate to internal staff and external vendors as well. This is how we maintain high customer satisfaction and high customer confidence. So when you're interfacing with service suppliers, whether they be a strategic supplier or a commodity supplier, maybe they're providing electricity or maintenance or storage support or application development support, we need to understand what our suppliers do for us, how often they respond to events, if they are coming to our facility, what those contracts, how those contracts read, and how available those suppliers are to us in supporting IT services that they own, but they help to manage. And you need to have clear lines drawn as to who owns what services and who manages. Big difference between owning a service and just managing a service. And if you remember from your ITIL Foundation course, this process area is referred to as supplier management, and that's under ITSM as well. Suppliers can be categorized into different areas around the support that they provide to us. There can be strategic suppliers like internet service providers. There can be operational suppliers like cloud suppliers. There can be tactical suppliers, suppliers that provide services like email. There can be commodity suppliers that supply electricity or gas or heat or backups. So you need to know what your vendors do. Do they understand our best practice approach, what their response levels are, what they're being charged, what the penalties are? And it's really important that you regularly meet with your vendors so that they understand that your company is implementing a best practice approach. So there is a great correlation and collaboration between operating, managing services, and having some of that management activity supported by external vendors. We call external vendors suppliers. You may call them providers as well, but you want to be clear as who is doing what. There are definitions for strategic suppliers. These are the folks that are doing more designing and architecture and engineering work, long-term strategic planning, more work that impacts our company as a whole long term. There are tactical vendors that do more middle management, more day-to-day work for us as well, and they need to be readily available when our services are impacted. There are operational vendors that manage day-to-day activities. For example, you may outsource your entire service desk. You may outsource your entire HR department, and that's fine. That's an operational vendor for you. And that should actually seem seamless. It shouldn't seem as if you are outsourcing it and you're always placing blame on this external vendor. It actually should be that they are a partner and part of your environment. And you guys work very closely together, and you shouldn't be pointing fingers, let's say. Commodity vendors. We depend on commodity vendors for some of the physical and tangible work that they do for us. But again, we shouldn't point them out as they are external to our business. They're very important to our business, and they're also a partner that impact how our services are provided as well. Maintaining stability is the name of the game when you are managing services. It should seem seamless no matter how many vendors you interface with, no matter how many suppliers and partners, contractors, or consultants you interface with. It should all seem very seamless because we all understand our ITSM organizational wide approach. We understand why the business exists. We understand the services that we offer, and we understand our individual role and responsibilities. So that means that the quality of the service is very important to everyone involved. Meeting those service level agreements and meeting business expectations is at the forefront of everything that we do. We leverage our work amongst each other, across teams, across departments, across divisions. We follow policy. The business is our governing body. What the business says goes. I know you think that the IT department actually gives us our marching orders, but it's actually the business. And what services impact the business is what we pay attention to and put those in the top 10 or the top 3 list of systems that we need to make sure are up and running at all times. And that's what we call when we conduct a business impact analysis, understanding what services are extremely important to the business. And then those services are the ones that we need to make sure in the IT organization we keep viable and sustainable and available and reliable to users and customers at all times. So everyone has a role. Again, we are all a part of this well-oiled machine. The business and the IT department and our vendors all working together all at the same time. So, in conclusion, I want to make sure that everyone totally understood that this organizational wide perspective is integrating more business activity with the IT shop, managing partner relationships, technology implementations, enabling people to be well skilled, to be informed, to be knowledgeable, to share information, and to document our standardized, repeatable processes, to have a good strategy that we support. We are in alignment with the business, and the business is in alignment with our IT organization. Our ITSM approach is that we understand how the business wants us to operate. We are an underpinning organization to the business. We collaborate together, even with our partners, and we understand how services contribute to providing value to our customers. We also do not point fingers. We do not work in silos. We want our customers to come to us and not go straight to our vendor. In fact, they don't even need to know that we are using vendors for different things because we're going to make the environment so seamless to them. So remember, manage IT services from an enterprise perspective. Include governance and policy at the forefront. Make sure you understand what the business mission, goals, and objectives are. Communicate that down to the IT department, and make sure the IT department clearly communicates with all of its staff with good processes, documented, good procedures, automation, clearly understood by everyone, and we have a good working relationship with our suppliers and vendors as well, and that way our services can always be reliable 100% of the time. I hope that I was able to clear up a little bit more about ITSM for you and a little bit about how operations is so important to making sure that our environments maintain stability and we minimize risk and we have a little bit more control in our environment as well.
Hope you guys found the session interesting. If you are interested to pursue your career in IT service management, Invensis Learning can help. At Invensis Learning, we offer instructor-led live online ITIL Foundation certification training, which is designed for working professionals. Get certified today and stand out from the rest of the crowd.
For more updates on trending technologies, subscribe to Invensis Learning YouTube channel. Also, if you have any queries, share them with us in the comments section.